Failed former president Donald Trump just released an unhinged video where he's slurring and clearly reading a script, and in that video he boasts about having overturned Roe v Wade, or at least having appointed Supreme Court justices that led to Roe v Wade being overturned. And it's almost like MAGA wants to lose this election because we've seen people turn out en masse to vote for their reproductive freedoms, and we will see that again this year. You'd think they'd have some sort of behind the scenes polling saying, hey, this is an issue we should stay away from. It's very unpopular with the American electorate, but Donald Trump just can't help but pander to his evangelical fan base. The video is incredibly unhinged. Let's play it, but first, make sure you leave a like, comment a blue heart, and subscribe.
Many people have asked me what my position is on abortion and abortion rights, especially since I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of something that all legal scholars, both sides, wanted and, in fact, demanded be ended. Roe v. Wade. They wanted it ended. It must be remembered that the Democrats are the radical ones on this position because they support abortion up to and even beyond the 9th month. The concept of having an abortion in the later months and even execution after birth, and that's exactly what it is. The baby is born, the baby is executed after birth, is unacceptable, and almost everyone agrees with that.
Okay, first of all, I have never heard a single Democrat say that they would be okay with babies being aborted 8 or 9 months into the pregnancy when it doesn't threaten the mother's life. I mean, there are edge cases where that would need to be done, but the average Democrat is not okay with babies being executed, as Donald Trump said, or executed after they were born. That is not a widely held belief, and he's just spreading this lie to justify the overturning of Roe v. Wade. But secondly, how can any women vote for this guy in good conscience, or how can anybody with a wife or a daughter that they love vote for this guy, especially after the 2015 Access Hollywood tapes where he says women just let him do it? He said more than that, but I won't say it. This is just another classic case of conservatives using fear to motivate voters rather than proposing actual policies that will help people. So they say babies will be executed if you don't go vote for Republicans, when this is something that does not happen. This is so easily debunkable, and if you have anyone in your life that still supports Donald Trump, you can tell it's almost a case of the sunk cost fallacy, where you've put in so much time, so much energy into supporting this guy, into defending this guy, and now you're just so deep into it that you can't imagine ever going back. The sunk cost fallacy is very real when it comes to politics. And I guess ever since Trump seized the GOP and has the Republican Party wrapped around his finger, they've just stopped looking at any polling data because this issue has sunk them in election after election. I mean, this may be a good way to mobilize your core evangelical fan base, but independents, women voters, staunch Democrats, we will all turn out and defeat you if you keep talking like this. I mean, it's inevitable. Even the IVF ruling in Alabama will be repeated over and over on the airwaves until people understand Republicans want to strip away your fundamental rights. And now that Donald Trump and Republicans have essentially dug their own grave, the onus is on us to make sure that they lie in it. The onus is on us to relentlessly spread this message about reproductive freedoms, about IVF, about contraception, and make sure that everybody knows Donald Trump thinks like this, that Republicans want to strip away your reproductive freedoms. This may be an even more effective strategy than Project 2025, which a lot of people may have trouble wrapping their head around how that affects their day-to-day life. Will gas prices go up if Project 2025 is passed? Probably not, but reproductive freedoms do affect people's day-to-day lives, especially if they have women in their lives that they love. Watch this clip of me talking to these two young, hardcore Trump supporters outside of his rally, and I get them to understand the importance of something like Roe v. Wade. It's not that hard for people to understand it. What do you think about the courts shooting down Roe v. Wade?
Oh, Lord help. That's a tough one.
That is a
That's
tough
a
one.
real tough
I feel like
one.
there's certain instances where abortion is needed, but for the most part, I feel like pro-life, like I don't want anybody just to get rid of a baby just because, but
The argument has always been it should be safe, legal, but rare. So we should teach sex ed at a young age so people get protection, they don't have to get an abortion. But if somebody does need one, we want them to get it in a safe way where they're not hurting themselves. So for example, I'm from Indiana. One state over is Ohio. There was a 12-year-old girl who was raped, and she couldn't get an abortion in Ohio. And I think that's terrible. People will hurt themselves if they don't have access to safe abortion. So there's a middle ground where we can
have preventative measures while also not striking it down completely.
I agree with
Exactly.
that totally.
Now, in the video, Donald Trump does say that abortion rights should be left up to the states and that he will not endorse a national abortion ban. This comes after months of mixed messaging and speculation. His fan base was pushing him really hard to ban abortion nationally. But even this vague rhetoric that he uses without clarifying when abortion should be cut off leaves him open to still endorsing the most extreme versions of these policies. This Twitter thread from Joyce Vance, who was the first female U.S. attorney to work for the Obama administration, said Trump famously bragged about undoing Roe v. Wade, insinuating that others had tried and failed. Abortion continues to be if not the defining issue for the 2024 election. Democrats have gotten a boost every time it was on the ballot since the Dobbs decision was handed down. So it's no surprise that Trump walked it back in his statement this morning, saying that leaving abortion up to the states, knowing the conservative stance on abortion could cost him votes. It's not about policy or principle with Trump. His backpedaling statement this morning comes on the heels of reposting a shocking, strange video on Truth Social that suggested conservatives must support him, even though he's not a conservative and doesn't represent their values. Now, I know you come to my channel because you love the digital alternative media, but let's take a look at some short clips of how the mainstream media is covering this. Senator Tim Kaine did a great segment along with Julie Roginski. Play the clips.
Well, he's proud that he ended Roe versus Wade, which was a law that stood for 50 years that allowed women to make their own reproductive choices about pregnancy. And he did more than end Roe versus Wade. The court, in striking down Roe versus Wade, struck down 100 years of precedent that says that the 14th Amendment grants people some autonomous rights to make decisions about their own families. It's not just pregnancy, it's contraceptions, it's in vitro fertilization, it's how you educate your kids. All of those cases were the cases that the court struck down in Dobbs. So, look, he's proud that he stripped rights away from Americans that they've been able to count on for a century. And that shows how these stakes are so high. He's fine with states criminalizing women. He's fine with states giving bounties to those who might report somebody who terminates a pregnancy. Great. You put that out there, and we Democrats and Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, we're going to say we believe that women's reproductive freedom should be protected in this country. Where whatever zip code you live in, whatever state you live in, it shouldn't be up to a group of mostly male legislators deciding how to criminalize your...
Well, it was quite a word salad, John, so it was a little hard to parse. But from what I can tell, he patted himself on the back for abolishing Roe versus Wade, congratulated the justices he appointed to make that happen, and supported all the states that are banning abortion virtually at conception at this point. So I don't think there's much change from what's going on now in some of these states that are leading to horrific outcomes for women from what Donald Trump proposes to do if he were to get back into the White House.
It's great to see Democrats already firing on all cylinders and making sure that the populace knows what Donald Trump wants. He wants to strip away your reproductive freedoms, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. I mean, if Project 2025 gets passed, all of the agencies right now that operate independently will be working at the behest of Donald Trump. He will weaponize every single agency that he can and strip away rights further, because this guy is not on the side of women or any sort of minority. My name is Mockler. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment a blue heart, subscribe, but have a great day.